Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. Hope everyone had a great week, and I hope you are having an even better weekend. All right, so I'm not going to hold you for too long today. We're going to get straight to today's show. All right, so the title is Shine Me Up. And the topic is polishing/editing. Try a little polish if you want to make anything stand out from the rest. We love the shine of freshly polished wood and shoes back in the day when men still did things like that. Maybe they still do it right now. I don't know. I haven't seen any shoe shine setups lately, whether on the street or in the mall, so I don't know if that's still a thing or not. But anyway, polishing isn't only critical for furniture and shoes, but specifically writing, okay? And before we go another step further, for those who don't know what polishing is in terms of manuscripts, it means you've combed through your work until it is at its best. Nothing left to do. It is perfect, all right? Or as close to perfect as it can possibly get. But anyway, you've prepared it for the publisher and readers like the perfect Sunday dinner. And we know how perfect those Sunday dinners are. When you're with your family and everything is in the best order that it could possibly be. The roasted chicken is to perfection, and whatever vegetables you got have not been overcooked or stringy or mushy. Everything is perfect because you polished it. You made sure before you brought it to the dining table that everything was as good as it could get. All right. So you know what polishing is as far as in terms of manuscripts and writing. So now you know the gist of this dialogue for today. All right. So anyway. I'm a little old school, but I do remember typewritten reports that were meticulously groomed before you turned them in. And if they weren't, you know what came next. All right. So how well polished it was determined if you got an A or a big fat F marked in red. Now, I've gotten a few A minuses and B's and C's. We won't go as far as D's and F's. But, because everybody has a bad day. We have good days, we have bad days. And that obviously was a bad day for me. But anyway, we know that book reports were the beginning for some writers. That's where it all started. Back in elementary school or middle school or high school when you had to do book reports. And everything had to be just right. And the same applies now. Only we have amazing editing tools to help us spit shine our work. Yes, I did go there. All right. So not only publishers, but readers love to read books that are aesthetically pleasing to the eye and free of error. That goes with anything. Going back to that Sunday dinner, if everything on the table is burned, would you want to eat that? Of course not. Nobody wants to eat burned food. But if everything is just beautiful, everything is just perfect, you can't wait to put some of that food on your plate and commence to eating it up. Well, that same thing applies to books. If you get a book and the first thing you see is a sloppy cover, that turns you off. Right away, I don't want to read that book because, that's not even pleasing on the outside. So I can only imagine what the inside is going to look like. So that's why it's so important to make sure that, after you've done all of the hardest work, which is actually writing the book. And when you get to those final touches, you want to make sure that everything is on par. Everything is as tight as it can be before you let it go, because once it's gone, that's it. You can't pull it back. All right. So, we want our work to be as close to perfection as possible. But there are limits to that. In other words, don't polish holes into your work, okay? And we'll get into what I mean by that, all right? And I'll give you some for instances, all right? In some cases, less is more, even when publishing your manuscript. So here, if I could speak, are a few polishing tips, all right? So the first one is to print your manuscript. Now, if you want to do this, fine. But if you don't, just listen up, all right? Now, I recommend this if you want a trusted person to read through it for you and highlight changes or mistakes. Otherwise, use the focus format on your computer to change the reading mode and read through it yourself. You can do that, but there are some some things to this that would probably be better if you would just let someone else read it, read through it for you. And we'll get to that reason coming up soon, all right? So number 2 is read the dialogue out loud. And, that is always a good idea. However, the writer may overlook things a fresh pair of eyes might find, all right? So, and I'll just use myself as an example, because I'm always in the editing mode, sometimes even while I'm writing. And I try not to put that hat on when I'm writing. I try to write and then, maybe edit as I go. Or some days I just ignore editing, even if I see something that's not right, because I don't want to lose that momentum when I'm writing. I don't want to lose where I am, lose that focus, and by, taking my attention away from it to go do something else. So, but anyway, and so I'm reading through some of my work. I've got it up on the screen and I'm reading through it. And so, my eyes will pass over something because I wrote it. So, to me, I've seen that 100 times already. So, it doesn't seem wrong to me. But if you let someone else look at it, they may catch it, whereas you didn't. And the same thing applies when you're reading the dialogue out loud. That's important too, because it helps you to listen to what's been written. All right. And I highly recommend using the review feature in Word to do that for you. The inflection for this feature needs some work, but it's not a narration. It's only a better way to hear what you've written. Okay. But listen to it, just let it, you can set the speed. You can change the, the voice from male to female. You can change it to British or English, whichever one you prefer, to read the dialogue for you. But the amazing part of having it read to you is that while you're listening to it, you have the cursor that's following each sentence or each word that's being spoken aloud. And so that way, and I recommend this, that while you are listening, you're looking at your writing, because sometimes the ears and the eyes, they don't coincide. And so you may want to just pay close attention to what you're listening to as you're reading it, because that's important. It's really important, and we'll get to that reason coming up soon. All right. Anyway, number 3 is sets out what can stay or go, and remember, less is more, and you don't need to take the scenic route to express your thoughts. All right. And what I mean by this is that you don't have to have a ton of intellectual words just to prove that you are an intellectual. To tell a story, you can use it in the most simplest terms, in terms that people will understand, because keep in mind, not everyone who will read your work is an intellectual. They're just normal, everyday people who love to read. Okay, so you need to keep them in mind when you are writing. And unless you're writing, a book for intellectuals, then of course that's how you want to write. But if it's just for everyday Joe, come on now, let's keep it simple so everybody can enjoy a good book. All right. Number 4, get that word count down. All right. Yes, it is a full novel, and I've seen some novels that are not in a series have up to 800 pages, and I love it, but some people don't like that. Okay, so you might want to get that word count down, and especially if you want to send it off to a publisher, if you want your work published, not self-published or just published by a publisher, you want to get that word count down. If you have over 150,000 words, they'll tell you need to get that down. If you can get it down to 120,000, because some publishers will allow up to 120,000 words, or sometimes 130. It just depends on what type of book it is. But at any rate, still go through it. And if you can get the word count down, then do that. But, if there are things you leave in there, then do that. But if you don't, then try to get the word count down, because that's important too. Long sentences aren't on trend or preferable to readers, okay? They hate them as much as unnecessary overstuffed wordage. And I'm a writer, but I'm also a reader, and I don't like it. So I'm telling you from my point of view, and I'm sure there are others who will agree with me that they don't like it either. And if you can use the same word in 5 or fewer letters, roll with that. All right. Number 5, proper format will eliminate unnecessary line spaces between paragraphs. All right, so I've had this issue myself, and the reason being is sometimes when you are getting that word count down, you're not using your tab key, and so you use the space key or the back key, and of course that's going to, it's going to change the alignment of each line between the paragraph. And so when you're going through making corrections or trying to format your work, it's best to format it beforehand. But trying to format your work, and then you see, oh, well, that's out of line. The quotes, you'll have one quote up here, and then the next one will be like in the middle of the page. Well, that's not right. So, or either you might want to split a paragraph, and once you do that, it throws everything else off. So if you just from the beginning set your page up with the correct formatting, you won't have that issue. And remember, don't delete. Use your backspace key when all possible. All right. So and if you are unsure how to do this, watch a tutorial explaining how it's done in detail, or you can just go to your to the line up here on Word where you see your file, home, insert, draw, all of those things. You can do layout. You can do the view. You can do what else can we do? We can do inserts, just different things like that. It will help you to format your work. If you just hit the home key, it will give you everything you need. It'll show you Times New Roman. It'll show you the font size. Whatever you need to format your document, then that's what you need to do. Okay, just make sure that you are within the parameters of what it calls for. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. And if you follow these examples, you can't go wrong. So, and that's the whole point of doing it. You will have successfully polished your entire manuscript and shine like the biggest star in the writing universe. All right, folks, so that's it for today. That was short and sweet, was it not? And I hope it wasn't too painful, okay? But anyway, that is the show for today. But before I let you go, I want to make sure that I give you these URLs. Did you hear my chair squeaking? I'm so sorry about that. I need to oil this thing or something. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it squeaks sometimes, so I hope you didn't hear that. But anyway, if you want to the show live, you can go to https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian E. Moore. You can follow me across all social media, which includes Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Okay? And I would appreciate it so very much if you would check out my website. That is at authorvivianemore.com and authorehshepherd.com. If you would check out my blog site, and that is at https://vivianemore.blogspot.com. All right. And if you missed today's live show, or you're unsure where you can find a book chat, I'm going to help you out, all right? So I'm going to save you a little time and go ahead and tell you where you can find it. Otherwise, you can just Google it, and anywhere podcast or heard, you can definitely find mine, all right? But anyway, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, YouTube, SoundCloud, JioSaven, iTunes, Audible.com, Verbal, Luminary, and Amazon. Those are all the places where you can listen to Book Chat, all right, on a weekly basis. And if you just want to catch up on all the episodes, then most definitely go to Spreaker or go to all of those URLs that I've just given you, and you can catch up that way as well. All right, so tomorrow is worship day. It is the 5th Sunday. Oh my goodness, we had 5 Sundays this month. And generally, before the pandemic, on the 5th Sunday at my church, we would have Family and Friends Day, and it was just so wonderful to be able to congregate and then fellowship with our church family. And sometimes they would bring guests and family members that weren't members of our church, and we would just have a jolly old good time. But because of COVID, we had to sort of put all those things on the back burner, but we still recognize the 5th Sunday whether we celebrate them or not. So because they're just so much fun and very personable days that we get to fellowship, and plus eat some good food. So that's not the main purpose, but it's just getting together as a church family and sitting down having Sunday dinner. That's how I looked at it. On those 5th Sundays, we would go down to the fellowship hall and sit down and have Sunday dinner. It was an amazing thing, and I hope that in the near future, we'll get to do those things again. And also remember to invite family members to listen in if you are going to church, to the brick and mortar building. Encourage them to wear masks because COVID cases are going up again, and so we want to be safe and keep everyone else safe, because sometimes you may have it and not be displaying symptoms, but you can still be contagious and give it to other people. All right, so we always have to be mindful of that. And also we have to be mindful of the fact that tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say that. So I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.